and approve the application to issue. Now, prior to this, I did want to read to you a letter that was just received by myself. I think there may be one too many. And so I will read this to you. This is from the Auditor of State's office, and this is actually signed by the Auditor of State, Dave Yost.
Before you read that, can I just ask Jack about the placement agent?
Absolutely.
You said you talked to a few. Do you have a placement agent at this point with the note?
We do.
Notes?
We do. It's IFS Securities.
And I'm sorry, there should also be in your packet, it's a preliminary schedule. And it has, I guess IFS is a placement and placement counsel is Hedden and Company LLC. LLC, right now. Okay.
So they would be the bank that would actually purchase the notes. Is that
We are engaging them to try to place the note.
place the notes?
I don't know if a decision's been made as to whether they would purchase it, try to sell it, or, place it with another governmental subdivision, but they are responsible for placing the debt holder.
I guess because it's East Cleveland, the natural question becomes who would actually buy these? Who would buy the notes of East Cleveland? It's always an issue.
We're exploring that now. So obviously we realize that it's a challenge, but even prior to approaching any governmental agency such as the county or even the state, I would assume that they would want us to market it on the market to see if they're interested prior to their consideration of that. So that's what we're in the process of doing now, is exploring traditional market to find out, but that's all preliminary at this point.
And what's the indication of the interest right now? Do you have any clear indication of what the interest is in the notes?
We don't.
You don't? And so if we're not able to sell the notes, what's the plan then on the market?
My hope is that the last alternative would be Cuyahoga County. I understand that ultimately they ended up picking up the Garfield Heights note in 2009. So as a last resort, that would be our hope that Cuyahoga County would consider.
So have we had conversations with the county?
We have not as of yet.
I have.
Okay.
One of the many sections of revised code is (118.19), and it's using special provisions for debt obligations. And Eunice may be able to speak to this since she's been through every issuance, I think, in one form or another. It's not a guarantee of the state per se, but the special provisions for these debt obligations can be inserted in the certificate so that it basically, not in the same wording, but basically says that the state will do nothing to impair the rights of the note holders. And the rights of the note holders would be to receive payment on the notes that they hold. Remembering that these notes are backed or based on the receipt of local government fund dollars that are received by ultimately from the state, but channeled through the county. So because it is a stream of revenue that comes ultimately from the state by entering into these special provisions, that basically is holding the state to ensuring that they will do nothing to impair the rights of the note holders. And that in other words, would be reducing the amount of local government fund dollars, because if that reduction occurs, then those notes cannot be paid. So while these notes are not backed by the full faith and credit of the state of Ohio or of the city, they have been considered in the past as a very safe investment. But the question then does arise, the dollar amount of the issue, and is there a market for that? And I don't know, I don't enter into those things, not only the dollar amount, but what the interest rate. And Jack has done some preliminary calculations that would then look at about how much they can get. The higher the interest rate, the less that they are going to reap from the issuance. So that's going to be a consideration as well. And they certainly can't go over any amount that would result in debt service being more than 50% of what they would get from local government fund.
But there's no mention in here about the actual treasury receipts in this application. I haven't seen anything about the amount of money that we expect to receive, that we would use to pay debt service.
I agree, it is not in there. And I talked actually, it was yesterday, to Teresa Metcalf Beasley, who is working on this through CalFE. And we talked about this. She said the application and any certificate that might be attached, or any resolution, is really basically what we're looking for so that we can go ahead and start doing what we need to do, to start going that extra step. And then that certificate or that special provision will actually be included, written into the resolution that council will pass to issue the notes. And by us then, when we come around and do our final approval, we will accept the wording, we will accept that ordinance, and therefore in our resolution, will then agree to the special provisions.
I have a question for Mr. Johnson. Is the 4% that they're using to calculate it within a relevant range? Do you have an idea of how wide that spread is for the city with the rating that he's providing?
If you'll notice on the certificate that I provided, it's based on an estimate at that particular time, which I think was July 3rd. The market at that particular time, based on a BAA rated investment on the market at that particular time. So that's how we arrived at the 4% estimate. We don't know what this will get until we actually go to market.
Interestingly enough, I believe that was the interest rate that Garfield's went at, and that was in 2009. It was somewhere close to 4. So,
A lot of, I would, my assumption is that these types of instruments are rated at about a BAA. So that's how we read it.
Okay.
any other questions for Mr. Johnson? Okay. Thank you. I have just distributed to you a letter that was actually just received, and it is a letter written to me. It is written by and signed by Auditor of State Dave Yost. And I'm just going to read it because the rest of the audience